Good evening, Internet, and my fellow hashers out there. Let's try that. Let's see if that one's a little better. I'm getting logged back in. We'll let some folks get recaught back up. Oh, nice. We get some nice love from our AMD driver loading on this rig right now as I'm putting Windows on it. Here we go. We get logged in here. Live streaming. YouTube's new interface is horrible. Alright guys, let's try this one last time. Make sure this holds up. Now this quality is going to be crap, but we'll see if the stream holds. And now commercial plays. Alright, so the quality is going to be less than ideal on this right now. It looks like we're getting a super chat. I can barely see the chat right now too, guys. The YouTube's interface is all jacked up. On all the computers right now, it's giving me just like a grayed out box saying that there's an issue with the chat. Yeah, I'm going to have to switch back to the classic interface, because their current one sucks. So if the quality's grainy, I'm sorry. Evidently, the uploading right now with YouTube is just crap right now. So it's going to be a little grainy. I'm going to try not to do a lot of quick camera motion stuff. Let's see here. What the hell? We're going to do a DDU on this. So tonight we're going to go through a few things. It looks like the stream is looking better now. We've got about 70 of you in there. It's still kind of going a little yellow, but we'll just deal with it. So we got this power supply from Alibaba. It's a $90 power supply. It's from Peltec, P-A-L-T-E-L Tech. It's just one of the vendors on there. They sent us a message about trying it out. It does have a gigabyte fan on it. I do not think this is an actual gigabyte power supply. So I think they just put a gigabyte fan on it. There's no other indicators on it saying that it's a gigabyte power supply. If I switch, let me make sure my my stream deck has focus, because I was messing with the stream. If we switch over to the other camera here, when we go to this one, this will give you guys a better, cleaner look at this power supply up close. I'll try to go slow with it for it doesn't pixelate too much since we're running really crappy stream tonight. Dual 110s, I have not tried it on 240 yet. We will try it. I wanted to do some testing before I attempted to fry it. And if I bring it over, you'll see with the lighting, it says gigabyte there. It's a single fan connector. And I'm going to switch back here to the main camera and then we'll talk more about it. The other components to it, the only other cables that come out of this is kind of, was very interesting to me. This is not a typical power supply. This is really kind of set for like an ant miner or like a Litecoin miner. And I say that because there is no 24 pin that comes out of this, nor is there a 8 pin that plugs into the motherboard. So it's not like a typical power supply. It is purely a PCI Express power supply. That's it. They're like, oh, it just has these connectors. So there's 6 of these individual connectors. It has a higher gain cable here that splits off to 3 individual 8 pins. So there's 6 of those. That gives you 18 8 pins. Or 6 pins because you can just add the other piece to make it 8. So the way I have it right now, tonight, set up, now the first thing you're going to notice is that if it doesn't have a 24 pin and it does not have a 8 pin for the power for the motherboard, it also does not have SATA or PATA connectors either. So it's a $90 8X, you know, an 8 adapter or 18 times 8 adapter or 6 adapter power supply. That's it. It's just giving you power for the tops of the cards. And what we're going to try tonight on this live stream is we're actually going to use some of the newer connector powered risers with the 6 pins, some of these guys, and I'm actually going to go and plug the other connector 6 pins straight into it. So it'll be running 6 pins and the tops of the cards. Now I'm going to separate those by lines because I don't want a weird power consumption thing going on, but I am going to separate it by the load on the line. So just there's going to be, if there's 3 on here, these 3 are only going to the tops of the cards. I'll use another line for the powered risers. And we're going to see if that works. There's no documentation with that at all. So there is a little bit of risk that it could cause some other issues. But I want to see, because it changes things then. Because then what you can do with a power supply like that is if that's going to supply most of your power for the cards and the risers, which are using the big power users of a rig like this, that allows you to go with a much smaller ancillary power supply, let's say a 750, because you'll be powering your risers off that power supply, so you don't have to worry about the SATAs or the PATA connectors, and the power supply will only be handling the motherboard at that point. So we're going to test that theory out tonight, because in that kind of scenario you could technically get like a 10 card rig pretty efficiently, even up to a 12 card rig on that one single power supply being 2400 watts of power, and just like a single 750, which that's a pretty low cost. So if that's a $90 power supply and let's say another $90, maybe $80 for a 750, now you're talking a total cost of $180 for a power supply to get a 12 card rig. That is a significant savings. But it all comes down to, can that actually handle it? Right now I had this running for about 36 hours. It was handling this with no problem. This rig by itself, and I'll show you that tonight too. This rig on these 2 power supplies, the 1000 watt Thermaltake Gold and 850 Thermaltake, uses about 1100 watts of power with this 7 card rig. It's right about 1090 to 1128, depending if it's the cards are going full tilt. Right now in its configuration, when we had it hooked up, it was only using 1020 watts. That is supposed to be a platinum power supply, and it seems like we're getting a little more efficiency out of that power supply than having the 2 golds hooked up. We were saving about 100 watts and I changed to nothing. I was using simple mining, I left the settings the same way, and the power difference was about 100 watts of power. running just the tops of the cards, letting the other two power supplies just handle the motherboard and the risers at the time, since we had not tested this with the risers. So we're going to go through right now. I was doing all of this stuff in Simple Mining. I went ahead and threw a Windows drive in there. That's what it's effectively doing right now, is I've been updating the Windows driver. I was going to go run a DDU on this and just pull off all the drivers off this from the Windows standpoint, and then run the new blockchain driver. I might just run the blockchain driver right now, because this is an older copy of Windows, or a drive that only had a, let's see here, AMD blockchain driver. We'll just pull that down, let that update. I'm going to try to look at through some of your guys' comments. Bits, can I see your breakers? I can barely see these comments. This new system is not very good from them. We're going through right now for the folks trying to, oh, I unchecked that other, let me fix that scene, because it's not switching. This one is supposed to be this and this here. We're going to fix those there. So right now, again, this was just Windows being plugged in. This was actually on a different machine that didn't even have any AMD cards in it. So this is us just kind of plugging the drive in. It's set up automatically. Some of the cards, not all the cards. And we are just pulling down the latest AMD blockchain driver, which is the optimized driver for the Polaris line of AMD cards, for those folks that don't know. Yes, the bitrate of the video is horrible right now. We were getting very, very bad latency with YouTube's upload, and it was really breaking up. So, unfortunately, this is going to be a pretty low bitrate video tonight, until we can figure out why, maybe go back to a legacy version of YouTube, because the new version is not succinct with whatever video settings we have. It was just dropping frames like crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and install this, and then we're gonna go ahead and do a Windows test with this, and then we'll get into a few other things why this is actually installing. I'm just kind of showing you guys the blockchain driver. So typically you would do a DDU, which is a device driver uninstall. It's a piece of software that actually pulls off the drivers, cleans up all the registry settings of all the driver installs, and pretty much makes everything vanilla. It turns off the auto update, and then just restarts the computer, and then typically you can put the drivers on after that. I'm just going to get the driver in place, and if it doesn't play well, then we'll go through that exercise. But right now I'm just trying to get this a beeline to getting these things installed. I was going to do this ahead of time, but you know, it's always good to kind of give everybody a refresher on, you know, that the fact that there is a blockchain driver and that it can get installed. So you have to have a big ass breaker so you don't trip that bird. Yeah, so what you would do in a typical situation like this, guys, with a power supply that's 2400 watts, even a 20 amp is not going to hold that. A 20 amp is going to fail. It's going to pop the circuit if you try to push 2400 watts to it. A 20 amp usually pops a little over 1800, 1900 watts. It gets real warm and it'll trip. So since this is the reason why they put two channels into this into this power supply, to where you could split it across two 15s or two 20 amp connections on the back of this power supply. So, recommended driver, optional driver, local driver, current installed. We're going to, what is the driver number for this particular one? Is 30, right here is the one we want to make sure gets installed, which is this one. So we're gonna test this on, right now it's connected into a single 20 amp because I'm not pushing it into the here, I'll switch back to this so you guys can see. Maybe. Oh, I took the focus off of the Stream Deck. One of these days I'll switch over to OBS Studio and I won't have this problem. So yeah, the bit rate's going to be crap, and I'm sorry for the bit rate tonight, guys. It's just, it was either switch the bit rate down and have a video, or leave the bit rate high and then be really skipping tonight. So since we're on, well, I was going back and saying, since we're on a single connection right now, we're on a single 20 amp connector, I have the two power supplies, the 1000, the 850, and the 2400 plugged into a power strip and into a kilowatt, which I'll bring up after this driver gets installed. We'll reposition it so you guys can watch the kilowatt. We are only pulling 1000, 1100 watts with this rig right now. So we're not really putting the load on the 2400 tonight. However, I do have a 12 card rig back here of 1070s, and we're going to be going and doing this weekend also, for the folks that did not see Twitter, we got a bunch of these in, and we're going to be going through these, and these are going to be what you guys really want to see. These are the new mining cards, and what I'll do is I'll get a more quality close-up of this. This is the P106L. This is the 3 gig mining card, and we have 10 of these, and we're going to go ahead and put them in with those 1070s, and we're going to really try to tax this thing. Let's just say that we're going to try to do all of them. And let me go to this so you guys can get a better close-up of this. So this is the P106. It's very blank, no labels, no maker on it, all blank label. That is aluminum though. This whole shroud is aluminum. That is not plastic. It does not have a back plate. Oh my god, the bit rate's horrible. I'm seeing it on the replay. Yeah, sorry for the bit rate, guys. This kills me watching it too on the replay. We'll have to do a recheck on this. And that is essentially that. I can't, it's killing me with the bit rate right now. So we'll hopefully have the bit rate cranked up when we actually do that card. So again, we got 10 of them. They have no interface on the back. So we are confirming that. Nothing. No HDMI, no DVI. The actual backplate piece here has the cutouts for it, but there's nothing on it at all. And it's a single 6-pin. Again, this is the P106L 3 gig card, and we had 10 of those. So we'll be putting them in the 12 card rig with the 1070s. We'll try them all with just themselves, and then we'll combine them with 1070s. Now that is on an Asus H110 Pro BTC. That's a 13 card board. And what we're planning on doing, I have 7 of the 1070s in there. We have 10 of these P106Ls. What we're going to be using is we also got some of these, which are the 3 card adapters, which are the PC peripheral, and we'll link to where we got these. We bought some of these off of Alibaba, the same person that we got the actual 2400 watt power supply from, and we're going to be trying these guys out. So what I'm going to try to do is expand that rig with that 2400 watt power supply this weekend on a live stream, And we're going to take that thing to 17 cards in one rig. So 10 of those, 7 1070s. We have not, unfortunately, got any of the AMD variants. So right now we're just talking NVIDIA variants. The AMD ones are like myths. A few people got them. I saw CryptoMine did a video on them, but we have not seen any since then. And this is more, these expanders are more as just a test. Typically we would just do the 13 GPU. I just want to see what we can actually pull out of this. This is more of kind of a, can it happen or not? And of course, I was going to bring it down as a joke and bring down a fire extinguisher, but I didn't. I mean, we ran this thing for 36 hours on at least 1,000 watts and it held up. We also did a thermal check with the thermal gun to make sure any of the connectors weren't getting overheated or too hot on a load, and they were not. Everything so far is checked out pretty well on it. So when we start to put a load on it, we probably actually will have a fire extinguisher. Looks like Windows is still doing its thing, trying to install and update these drivers. I'll take some questions while we're waiting for Windows to figure its life out. Looks like you guys are just normally chatting right now. I don't know if there's an Ethereum meeting tomorrow. I do need to check that. I've been super swamped with work, but if there is, then I'll be watching that. The new multi-miner is out. I'll put the link in the description below. So RG, I did put that out last night. It is out there. You can go out to our Steam It. So if you go to Steam It, Bits Be Trippin', at Bits Be Trippin', it's out there. You'll see that. Where do you get the GPUs? What GPUs? It depends. Most of the GPUs we order online when we can find them. I hit the local Best Buys in our area. I hit the local micro centers that will sell me at least 1 or 2 GPUs here and there. We did buy a Vega 56 online. I did pay $200 more than retail. Like everybody else, I paid almost $600 for it on eBay. A person sent it. I got the tracking. It should show up hopefully tomorrow. That'll be unveiled the second we get it open, and we'll take that through its gambit. So we will be doing a Vega 56 piece there. These P106 cards, we actually had a subscriber do a huge bulk order. They're building a farm. We're able to get 10 of them to go through all the testing and all that to really shake them out. It's just the different opportunities come up. A lot of people do bulk orders. Sometimes they'll send us an email saying, hey, I ordered too many, or they'll reach out to us because we are public facing a lot. They'll say, hey, we got this many extra cards. Would you want to purchase those? Most of the time those deals aren't deals, guys. I'm usually paying at price, if not higher, than what retail is. Mainly because most people are not going to take a hit. They spend X amount of dollars and it didn't work out, or they weren't going to, with crypto dropping, they're just like, I bit off more than I can chew. Are you guys going to can you guys pick up some of these cards? So we pick up cards a little bit of everywhere. There is no direct supplier that we work with all the time. I mean, we went out to MA Labs. Again, I try to hit the retail scene, but not too hard. I mean, we're not trying to buy out everything in the stores. I put a video out on Twitter not even a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Micro Center in Brentwood, St. Louis was filled with graphics cards. I mean, they were floor to ceiling. They had over like 65 or something crazy 470s. You can go out to their website right now and see they had this huge bulk order of RX580s come in. They want $299 for them. I told them that's way too high of a price. But there are cards out there, but again, some of the retailers are still pricing them very high. There is not a lot of deals that, I mean, even with, we're why we have a very big public-facing kind of a YouTube channel, you know, 21,000 subscribers, and I think all of you guys that are our subscribers, we are not anybody of scale when it comes to purchasing. I mean, it looks like we are because we do test a lot of different hardware, but I mean, when you start talking 300 and 400 card farms on a regular basis, we're not at that kind of scale. You know, I mean, a total of probably 600 or so cards in the last maybe few months, but nothing that is going to get to where you're going to get 3,000-4,000. I mean, some of the huge farms that are out there that people are doing big scale work usually work with a direct buyer, or they'll go out and actually have cards created. But most folks that are just getting in this are just, you know, trying to find what they can, where they can, and a lot of retailers have really rescinded back, not allowing you to buy any more than a couple at a time. However, we have seen with our Amazon affiliates, when we do post links out there, some of the links that we've been posting out there have been letting the buy orders go all the way up to 20. So you can start bulk ordering again back on Amazon, and the prices are starting to come down some. I don't know what this thing is doing. It says it's up here. That restart. I lost my video on this again. What else do we got from question? When I went to Micro Center in Brentwood, they were going to go AMD cards, but it was pissed at the price, and they wouldn't let it go down. Yeah, I mean, from our area in the St. Louis area, their pricing's still pretty high. I think it's across the board when it comes to Micro Center in general, compared to, like, let's say like Best Buy. Best Buy on the P and Y cards that we actually got those pretty cheap by comparison. They were $429. That's a pretty decent price for a 1070. $429 was about what they were. They were $399 to $429 before the big jump in price. So it's good to see them back in that kind of pricing. Looks like we're back to not seeing video on this thing again. Must be just a close that. Back not to seeing video on my monitor again. And that's even after a replacement. Switch this back here. Looks like it's still trying to set up cards. We may just skip this part right here and just go straight to the shut this guy back down. We'll do Windows with the next. I don't waste your guys' time with getting Windows to play with drivers right now. We'll just do simple mining for right now on this before we can do the testing of this hard drive. Coming back up. can kind of see. So I can see, we got Miss BBT down here now looking at some questions. I can't see everything with the new interface. It's got like a blocker in front of it. Like you see the way that machine has like a grayed out and it has like the box in the middle and you can't see the text.
Oh, on the other screen?
Yeah, I have it on this screen too with the new YouTube interface. It blocks out so I can barely see any text.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's PG. So what we're going to do right now, guys, is I just went straight back to simple mining because at least I know the cards are running and working on that versus trying to fix it in Windows. This video isn't for that. We have other videos of fixing stuff with that part. I'm going to bring this over here. And I'm going to reposition this real quick and restart it. I wanted to get the power for you guys could see the power. So I'm setting that up right now. Restarting the power. So you guys can see the actual power draw. And then we're gonna bring up the actual test of the power supply, and then we'll switch out the risers and test out this on risers because I think that is a critical need. This power supply is not worth it if you cannot use those onto the risers, because then you're just talking about powering all of your cards. But then you will still need a high-end power supply to supply enough power to all the risers, because you can't just go with like a 650 or a 450. You're not going to have enough connectors to actually power your risers without overloading the power supply. So then there's no use of having a power supply this big, a 2400 watt power supply, if you're having to go out and spend 1200, going out and spend for a 1200 watt or a 1600 watt power supply. So let's go ahead and look at the load on this right now. We'll see what this goes to. So right now we're at 7 cards. It's starting to hash. We're just under 1,000 watts right now. And we're about 205, somewhere around there, hash wise. So that's with the that is with the graphics cards being powered by the 2400 watt. The 1000 watt and the 850 are powering the risers, with the 850 powering 3 of them, the 1000 watt powering 4 of them, and then the 1000 watt power in the motherboard. So it's 3 power supplies on there right now, which is way overkill. But right now the risers that we're using here weren't necessarily 6-pin risers. So we're having to use the SATA connectors to actually plug in these risers. So again, that's a 950 watts of power, not bad at all. If I take this 2400 watt power supply off now, that's seeing where we're at right now. You guys are seeing what that thing's running at. It's running 900. And for the folks that didn't see originally how we got this plugged in, I have all 4 power supplies. As you can see here, I just flipped that around. That's okay, don't worry about that. The 4 power supplies, which are the 2 out of the 2400, and then the 1000 watt and the 850. That's the way this is plugged in right now. This is on a 20 amp connection, so we're fine because we're still only at 1000 watts. But I wanted you to be able to see all that the way that is. Man, that quality is horrible right now. We have to get that fixed for this weekend. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shut this down, and I'm just going to plug in the other power supplies without the 1000 watt. That way you got, or the 2400 watt power supply. That way you guys can see the difference in efficiency. Let's bring that down. let's kill the power on that. We're going to unplug the power there, and I'm going to yank the connectors off of this right now, and I'm going to switch this back to just the two other power supplies, and you're going to see the power. And we're going to switch these back real quick, and you're going to see that the efficiency really rests on that Alibaba power supply. I'm just going to call it an Alibaba power supply for right now, because even though it says gigabyte, there's no way that's a gigabyte power supply. I think it's just a gigabyte fan.
Did you just say SATA to SATA power connectors?
SATA to SATA. No, PATA, which is PATA or SATA. So the risers that we have on here right now, a few of them are the 4-pin connectors, and then we have a few that are SATA based. None of them are the 6-pin connectors, which is what I'm going to switch to after I do this test. Because what we're going to do is we're going to be able to take out at least the 850 watt power supply, and the only power supply that's going to be left in here is just one to power the actual motherboard, because the 2400 watt power supply does not have a actually ability to plug in anything but the connectors, which now I have everything unplugged, so now people can see this the way it is. So this is essentially all you get. You get this little box with the two connectors, which is the standard 110s, an on and off switch, and then wires that come out the back that are 6 individual, or well, it's a power ground setup that's split into 3 6 8-pin per. So that's what we're dealing with. That's all this power supply is. It's a $90. This thing was, so they were talking about, yeah, they can work for GPU rigs, no problem. Well, kind of. I mean, you can get your main power from this, but you still need to have another power supply to supply power to the motherboard. Oh my God, that quality is horrible. I had to drop the quality all the way down to like almost 480p level because we were getting just constant red. So you guys can see the power difference right there. 1105 watts already with just using the power off the 2 gold power supplies. So that is absolutely more efficient. Out of the gate, it's more efficient. It says it's a platinum power supply. I gotta believe it's a platinum power supply. The efficiency is a lot higher on that. It's not using near the electricity. It's I mean, no setting changes at all, and you know, we're still, I mean, that's still the same rate right now. 205, 29 a card. So it is, there is a distinct difference. The only thing we did change was the power on the tops of the cards. So now that we got that figured out, I'm going to shut it back down again. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull all the top power supply, or all the top power off the cards. I'm going to pull all the risers, and what we're going to use is we're going to use all of the 6-pin and the 8-pins on this device right now for this 8-card rig.
Your video quality is not doing well.
Oh, it's horrible. Horrible.
Somebody says they feel like they're watching Minecraft right now.
Minecraft? Yeah, it sucks, guys. I'm sorry. I wish it was not as bad right now. It was just red. It was solid red every time.
Fiber.
Yeah, we need fiber. I need to get the other place for sure. So I'm gonna grab connectors for. I'm gonna grab some risers here. I already had some already kind of set up, and what we're gonna do is I like unplugging power to everything. I don't like power being on.
Those are very yellow wires.
Yeah, they're bright yellow. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna yank all the risers. Well, this already had a 6-pin. Go figure. And pull that off there. Do we have any more 6-pins here? 6-pin one here.
Somebody like, oh look, I didn't miss the fireworks yet.
I didn't miss the fireworks. Well, this might be firework laden here in a second. Because what we're going to do, I don't really know actually if it's going to work. Because we haven't tested it. But I figure why not test it in front of you guys? Because if something does go boom, well, we can learn together.
They want to know what kind of knowledge came from the BBT campout powwow. Were there any ideas or anything?
Well, so I've been trying to get this website done for a while. So we did talk about some of that. And I think I was just trying to do way too much with it. So I'm trying to lean it out a little. And one of the big things I think that are coming out of it is there's been a lot of people asking for more leaner videos of just having, and I'm not talking about me being lean, which I need to get lean, but I'm talking about, like, while the live streams are very wealth of knowledge, if I was to make some quick videos, I'm talking like 4-minute or less videos that were straight and to the point on particular subject matters, such as you want to connect 2 power supplies. Here's a 3-minute video of how to do it efficiently on a couple different methodologies, including and not limited to something like this where it's a split cable power adapter, or using a add to PSU device, or any of that kind of stuff. So very tailored videos, quick and to the point, and just kind of blast it out to the community. On top of doing some of the live streams. So what that requires is me to have somebody that's going to be able to do a lot of the editing. And I do have, you know, a person that every once in a while can help out to do that, but it's all a time equation. And if it makes sense, if you guys would like for that kind of content, what we'll probably do is create a little poll, and if there's an overwhelming response that people are like, yes, please give us 4-minute content across a whole range of subject matter, then what we'll probably end up doing is either figuring out what that will cost for us to have it produced. I will do the actual video and that. You guys are not necessarily paying me for that, but for me to get it produced, of me finding somebody that's reasonable to help produce that video. So I can do the content all day long. You guys know, you guys that tune in, see me doing all kinds of stuff like this all the time. But to actually take it and turn it into small bits of content, you know, looking what that would cost, and then going back to the community to help contribute to something like that. And be like super, super transparent. I want to make sure everybody understands where money and all that kind of stuff's going from. But, you know, have, you know, kind of like, I don't want to call it paid content, but have very direct content that caters to somebody that doesn't have time to watch a live stream. Let's just say that. So that was really kind of what our latest discussion, and a lot of that's just from some of the feedback that you guys leave, saying, you know, hey, great streams. I can't watch 4 hours of content. So trying to find a happy medium there. What we're going to do is pull all these. So what I'm doing is I'm yanking all the risers, and we're going to switch them to the 6 pins, and we're going to run the 6-pin risers directly off the power supply, and we're going to run the tops of the cards on the power supply also. The 2400 watt power supply. That means that the 1000 watt one here, which I would not use 1000 watt. If this works out, this would allow us to downgrade this power supply into a much lower end power supply. All these risers. I could take questions why I'm disassembling. I hate that the quality sucks right now. Hate it.
Danny has a 2 PSU rig, and since he got everything hooked up, now his onboard display doesn't show anymore. Would that be related?
He can go into his BIOS and make sure that his onboard display is set to always turn on and be the primary, and then see if that works, because it's probably set to auto, and now he's reached a certain point where it's just going to automatically disable it. Anytime I have that, I go right into the BIOS and I make sure, you know, you might have to plug in a normal card, you know, the connection into a normal card, and then, you know, signify that you are wanting the remainder of, you know, the next time it reboots to go to the onboard. All right. So I got 2 of the 6 pins. I'm just getting these rearranged so I can get to, let's get this out of here. This is the PATA that we don't need. The SATA we don't need. This is flipped up, which isn't doing anybody any good. So now we are going to do this card first. I'll work myself left to right, rerun.
Have you plugged in that Alibaba PSU yet?
Yeah.
How many amps on output?
Well, it'll do 2400 watts, which is well over 20 amps. 22, 23 amps, something like that. I have not ran it up to that. I have to plug it into our 240 connection if I want to run it to that much.
What you said about the dual PSUs and all that, he said he already did that. He even reset the CMOS and jumped the pin. Seems like the motherboard is shocked.
For which one are we talking about?
That the guy that had the two PSUs that wouldn't display anymore.
On his, but does it display on any of the cards?
Didn't say that.
Is it just the onboard's not working anymore? Okay, so I'm going to plug in the 8 pins here. So one strand is going to plug in to 3 of the cards. And all I'm doing, guys, is the 6 pin to 8 pin has, where normally you have to kind of line them up and they're kind of a pain in the butt. These ones actually have rails, like little rails that they slide down. So you know, 1, which side they need to be on, and 2, it just kind of lines up and slides down onto it. So I'm just going to get the cards plugged in, and then we're going to use another set, a few of the sets to plug into the 6-pin risers, and only not use the 8-pin portion torsion. What was that? And the whole concept here is to let the 2400 watt power supply maintain the entire order of the machine. And if this all works, then this is going to set pace for this weekend when we go and we really tax this and put like 12 cards on this thing. This is really just a test for that.
Are you ready for a super chat?
Sure. Did I miss any super chats? I couldn't.
I couldn't tell you.
Oh.
Let's go back and finish Danny real quick.
Yep.
He said, no, it doesn't display on any cards. No onboard either. He tried everything on your blog.
But it turns on. Is there any air indicating lights or anything like that? What kind of board is it, by the way? Ask him that. Is it a TB250 from BioStar? Because if it is, I haven't had too much luck with those. Okay, so all the cards are plugged in. Now it's riser time.
Okay, so while we wait for Danny to come back with that, Scott's question is, thank you for the videos. I built 5 rigs with 1060s using your methodology. Spent a lot of money and BE is way out there, but having a blast. Generated 10 E so far. Hope to see you over at Crypto News. So there wasn't a question. I guess I should have read that first.
Over at Crypto News, yeah, I said hi to those guys. Those guys are out of St. Louis. I will try to find some time and get over there if they invite me. And I would happily go over there for one of their episodes and just talk tech and crypto. If they give us an invite, we'll be over there.
The 5.5 miner,
Yes.
where?
It is out, posted right now. It's on our Discord under resources or under announcements. It's on Steemit. If anybody follows us on Steemit, it's out there. And if I get all this plugged in here, I can. What I'll do is that anybody joining us. So I plan on having a live stream tomorrow, hopefully with better quality. And I will go through the multi-miner with everybody. Configuration and all that kind of fun stuff. Tonight's a little more direct and to the point with the Alibaba power supply. So I'm going 3 risers on the strand here because the amp pull that I'm pulling on 3 to the tops of the cards is significantly more than what would be pulled off of just the risers. So unlike the normal logic that we follow on powered risers of not putting any more than 2 on a particular rail, that's not applicable, or at least I don't think it is, on this. It should not be, because it's not pulling, even no matter if this thing's pulling 50 watts per, that's only 150 watts on that single strand, and I know each of these connectors right now are at least pulling 100 watts. So that's 300 watts on the right now. So we should only be able to pull half of what is being pulled on the top of the card on one of these rails. So.
All right, Danny's response. There's no lights. It does turn on. It's a TB350 AM4. He switched out the RAM and he left the CMOS battery out for a whole night, hoping it would reset the BIOS.
Yeah, I've just had so much. I've had so much bad luck with BioStar boards, guys, that I literally have 3 BioStar boards here. I'm going to tell you the luck that we've had with BioStar boards. Here's my luck. They're in the box because they don't work. I burned up 3 of them. And these are boards that were working fine, and then just one day they stopped working. And I pulled everything off of them. That's the 12 cardboard, they just went out, and I'm going to RMA them. But I have not had that issue with Asus Prime boards, and I have not had those issues with the ASRock boards. So I'm 3 for 3 on TB 250 and 250 Pros. So, and we do not, I mean, we do put different GPUs. We swap things out a lot. I mean, we do put things to the test, but I just have not had luck. And I'd like to hear other people's luck with the TB 250 and the 350. But I mean, if you're seeing a lot of the same symptoms I have seen on those other two boards, where everything goes dead on me, and I can't get anything recovered on them. So it's probably not good. If you've pulled the CMOS battery and you've done all that, I mean, I would strip it all the way down to where there's only one card in. I'd plug one card into the 16X slot. I'd treat it like a normal motherboard and see if that fixes it. If that does not, then there's a good chance that the board's just out. It seems to be a pretty common thing with those BioStart boards. Three more connectors. Let's get these positioned over here. I'm actually going to go ahead and plug in the other two risers, that way they're already done. Going to go here, and then this one we're going to feed over and down here. Let's get these two plugged in right here. So again, the folks that can't see what I'm doing right now is this power supply's got 6-pin connectors on it, and I'm plugging it into the 6-pin riser. And by the way power works, it should just pull what it needs. And nothing more. Of course, I do pick one of the machines that we built that actually had the lower height. This is one of the lower height builds, where we only went 9-inch, I believe, right here. Maybe 10-inch versus the 11s or the 12s, which gives us a little more operating room. Tight. One more riser, folks. 4-pin. How many people we got on? 100?
176.
Oh wow, 176. I'm going to plug this in. So again, this will have all power besides the 24-pin connector that actually powers the motherboard. The 8-pin connector that powers the motherboard are both coming off the 1000 watt, which is way overkill, which it doesn't, but in this particular test, what we're trying to validate is that those 6-pin connectors work perfectly fine with this setup and will power everything. That or we're going to have a fire, one of the two. And that will make for very interesting YouTube. All right. So.
What Linux distro do you recommend with BBT multi-miner? Ubuntu, ITS 16.04 Fedora?
With the so we do need to update the Linux distro that we have to the 5.5 equivalent that we just released with Windows. So that part right now is still getting requisitioned. I had somebody helping with that one. I was not updating that one myself. And once we do get that updated, it should be compatible with all of them. As long as you have a newer kernel, you should be fine with 16.04. Ubuntu is what I would recommend. All right, so let's make sure that that's on there. That's that power. So when it first powers up, it's got a lot of juice that comes on. I'm going to go ahead and kill the power on this because this thing booted up right away, and I had not plugged in that just yet. Again, since this does not have...
It's not showing anything.
Well, it's not. I just restarted it, so it should come up now. Maybe. This is all going to be interesting.
Is it my paranoia or does that smell funny?
I don't smell fire yet. Firing for effect, boys. Well, we'll see. Let's go to full screen here. Well, it's fine in GPUs, I think. Let's look. Well, it did not find a few. Let's see here. How many? 6. We're missing one GPU. So we've got to find out which one that one is. And it might be one that I don't have all the way plugged in, or I did not plug in something. Let's see here. That's connected. That's connected. Aha! The end one. I did not plug in the power. My fault.
Fail. What is that? Sounds like a hotel hairdryer.
It when it goes to shut all the way down, it cycles up like a server style. So that one was mine. I did not have the end riser plugged in. I got a little overzealous on it. All right, everything's back on. Let's try this again. Now the riser's plugged. So we are confirming now that this power supply so far at least handles both the power on the top, the supplemental power on the tops of the cards, and it is power in the risers. So I wish I had higher quality right now. This sucks. So sorry for the crappy quality, guys. That is forced. We had to downgrade the network connection because it was going to crap. So it is booting up right now. We're going to check the power on this guy. Now again, when we had both of the other power supplies running, powering the bottoms of the cards, giving supply to the power of the risers, and we just had the 2400 watt PSU, server PSU, powering the tops of the cards, we were at 950 watts. When we were just using the two power supplies, we were at 1100 watts of power. So we were at 150 watts of power difference when we were just powering the tops of the cards with the server power supply. Now we're powering both the risers and the cards. The whole entire card in general, all 7 cards now are being powered by that server power supply. And we're looking at power usage right now, and we're at right about 970, 950 watts. So still being very power efficient by 150 watts to power it in this fashion. So what we're going to let this do is we're going to let this mine for a second, make sure it's pretty stable. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to power it back down really quick, and I'm just going to plug in the 1,000 watt power supply into the kilowatt. What I want to see is how much power is actually being drawn just on that 1,000 watt kilowatt. Because what that will allow us to do is look in this kind of concept. If this works out, then what you can do is go with a really cheap primary power supply to power just the motherboard, and then power the cards with the $90 power supply from Alibaba.
You're running Linux on this, right?
This is running Simple Miner, which is essentially Linux. We'll let that run for a second. So again, $90 power supply, dual connections, 950 watts, 150 watts of power saving so far right now off the gold power supplies that we were using. So this looks like this is holding pretty stable, pretty steady. I'm going to power this back down. We're at 950 watts right now. I'm going to shut this back down real quick, and then I'm just going to plug into the kilowatt the tough power. We're off now here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look for this guy. Where are you at? That was this one. I have another power source over here. That's a 240, I think. Is that the 240? That is a 240. Don't want to cross the streams here. There we go. Go this way. Get that power, shut that down. And this is going to go into here, which will power the actual 1,000 watt. Okay. So, let's set that there. And with that reset, that's 34 watts. What is this thing doing? Oh, it's just should drop. I don't know what's using 34 watts of power for. Oh, it's spinning this fan still. And the machine's on. Let's power that down. I want to make sure that's at 0. Okay. So now we're going to power on server power supply. We're going to bump this on. And now we're just on the 1,000 watt power supply. This should remain around 30 or 40 watts of power. So we're going to let this go right now. And then we're going to switch it over to the server power supply, and we're going to just see the difference here. Because what we're doing here is just showing you really what needs to be on the motherboard in this scenario. So again, this gives us a different option on mining rigs right now if they're going to be supplying these power supplies at that cheap of a level. Because I still have, I have 7 cards here and 7 risers all plugged into this one power supply, and I still have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I still have 3 8-pins or 6-pins left. So technically you could get a full 8-card rig on this kind of setup here, on one of these power supplies. You can get 7 or 8 cards with risers and their power as long as they have a single 8-pin on this one 2400 watt. So that's $90 for an 8-card rig that will give you more than enough power for just that power supply. And then you could go with like a 450 or a 600 watt gold and save some money there. So let's switch over to this again. And just make sure it's running, which it is. And there you are. So from a system standpoint, that 1000 watt power supply is only drawing right now 30 watts of power. It is a complete waste to use anything more than like the cheapest power supply you can find, quite frankly. Like you could use whatever, a 350 watt, as long as it has a 8-pin for a motherboard, you could use that in this scenario here. Like a $30 power supply, because it is drawing nothing right now. 30 watts of power. So let's kill that. Again, I'm going to shut this down. Again, and we're just going to do a little swaparoo just to give you the perspective on the actual server power supply now. I keep calling it a server, but it's not a server power supply. I don't want it to be confused with the server power supply either, so I should stop calling it that, because there is a difference between the ones that people have converted server power supplies and this one. This one is more purpose built for, I call it crypto mining in general, because they're selling these as like the Antminer S9 and those kind of connection setups too, but you can't. They kept telling me that, hey, you can use this for crypto mining rigs also with GPU rigs. So that's essentially what we're testing with this. So let's go ahead and bump this back again. And bump the motherboard on, and we're seeing right now I flipped it, so now the 1000 watt is off the meter, and all we have is the gigabyte power, let's call it the Alibaba power supply. That's all we have on the meter right now, and then this will kind of wrap up what we're doing here. And I'll take us through kind of what we're going to be going through tomorrow in detail. Tomorrow hopefully will be a much better live stream, as we'll be going through the new P106 mining cards, and if the Vega 56 shows up, we'll be going through that too. Get any questions? I think there was an earlier super chat. I think I can look that up though. So we're looking at now, hasn't kicked in just yet.
They really want to link to the Alibaba power supply.
This power supply? Yeah, we'll put it in there. I'll put in the absolute contact information that we did, because the guy had been really reaching out to us to really try it out. And I will just supply their direct information. That way, if you guys are interested, you guys can contact them directly, the company, and get these ordered.
Can you use the little camera and get a good shot of it?
Yeah. What we'll do is we'll bring the big cam over and I'll get a bigger thing. Now this is interesting. I'm at 1058 watts right now, but this thing is this fan is a lot higher. So I think what this is it's actually putting out a lot more noise. The noise level is a lot, I don't know if the camera could pick it up, but I can absolutely tell that the power supply is working a little differently a little more power, so it is using roughly 1,000 watts of power. We're getting 206 out of this 205, which is right where we need to be. But I can tell the power difference, or the actual audio difference with the internal fans. There's fans that go this way through it, and then, well, you guys can't really see what way I'm pointing right now. But that's just with running right now on the power supply. So I'm gonna switch back to this down. So we will get a closer view of this. I tell you what, let me bring over this camera and get you guys a better view, since we can't really. And then what we'll do tomorrow too is I'm gonna just take this camera over, so it's gonna get real grainy, because every time I've done this, I've never really brought this camera over when we had higher quality, and now I'm bringing it over when I have the video quality really horrible. So don't mind these red cables, because those are for the other. That's okay. So you have all your connectors coming right out of there. You can feel fan sucking from this side and then blowing out right up here. It's probably super loud. Right there. I'll tell you what, I do got a sound meter. Fifty-six decibels. Not too bad, I guess. Not much to it. And then the two connectors there, and it has a single power supply power on right there. For the folks that want to know the dimensions, this is upside down, but so we're right at 14 inches. The length there by about almost 3 inches tall. And we're right at 5 inches in width, or thickness. So 14 by 3 inches tall by 5 inches wide. And that's what we're looking at. And that's, you guys can see the way we connected them to the risers. Through the 6 pins. Turn on night shot, that should give you a better. And that's the setup. I tell you what, while we're over here, get you guys a better shot of the P106 that we'll be going through. This is the NVIDIA P106 mining card. That's an aluminum shroud. You can actually see it with its where it's screwed down right here. Again, sorry for the crappy quality, guys. I'm watching the replay on it right now. It's horrible. killing me too. You can see that there's no, like it has the breakouts for you know, the I/O, and there is nothing in the I/O. It's completely empty. Single 6-pin. And there is the tag on it. So we got 10 of these, and we'll be installing these in tomorrow's video. So you guys can get that. Hopefully we'll have much higher quality for tomorrow. We'll be setting our stream quality back up to 4K quality. We'll just have to run a larger delay that hopefully will clear up. I'm back on the screen here. So this thing still, this thing fall over. A little more power usage. Yeah, it's getting a little warm over here. Now, what is the temps in here? The hair. 81 degrees. What's the 27 Celsius? So I can take some question, guys, and we can wrap this one up. Because the stream quality is killing me, and I just can't do it. But I think that's it's not a wrap on this. In a situation where you're going to have a 7 or an 8 card rig, right now the verdict is this is a pretty good deal. We ran this with just using the cards on using the power on the top only, and I ran it for 36 hours straight and it had no issues. It just ran. This rig ran the way you're looking at it right now. This whole rig's a 7-card rig. It's 205 mega hash. These are RX580s. We'll include them in the description below. We have the BIOS for this. These are the Samsung edition, I believe, or they might be the Hynix. I need to look and see. But I will provide the right BIOS for this one for the folks that if you do pick these up with the same BIOS that we're running a fixed. You guys saw on each of the reboots that we are running these at 1200 GPU and 1980 because these are 4 gig cards, 1980 on the memory. So you run 1980 and 1200 on the GPU, and you use our BIOS with these with custom straps, and you're gonna get 29 and some change. With the blockchain driver, these are 31 mega hash. So if we were running these in Windows with the blockchain driver on Ethereum with this BIOS and at those frequencies, these are 31 mega hash cards. These are phenomenal, great cards. Just knock this guy over again. So we'll include that in there. But in this kind of scenario, I think this kind of myth busted per se, if this is a bad power supply or not. Now on the longevity side, is it going to hold up? Good question. So I wouldn't go and replace your entire farm, but if you're trying to lean out your cost on a mining rig right now, we will put the link into the description for this. Again, we don't have any affiliation with these guys, so we're not really getting anything from them or anything like that. This was not like a paid advertisement. We actually paid for that power supply. I paid for the shipping for that power supply. We did it with a whole bunch of other risers and stuff too. So that, and then I got 2 of these little daughter card, which are the 1 to 3 connectors, which we will be trying out in that rig tomorrow also, because I plan on putting in 10 of these P106s, the mining GPUs, along with the 7 1070s. My goal is to use these cards on top of the ASRock H1110 Pro BTC motherboard and expand it to where I can get 17 cards on that guy. So it should be an interesting video. The only way we can do that is with the help of this 2400 watt power supply, and we're going to have to throw a few other ones in there on the mix because that's quite a bit of power. That's going to be required for 17 cards. But if we can get 17 cards working, that's going to be pretty epic. And we'll be really leveraging all the tech that we can from it. So you definitely want to stay tuned in for that. Again, we're planning that for tomorrow. We have everything that we need for that. And the secondary video, which may also go as part, that's probably going to fill up a whole video. 17 cards on one machine is kind of crazy. So that's probably going to be that whole video. But we will have the Vega 56 showing up hopefully also tomorrow, which will then put us into probably a Saturday video with the Vega 56. I want to dedicate a whole video to that, and we will undervolt it. We'll do everything we possibly can to try to see if that ends up taking the reins from the Vega 64 as the top reigning card right now. Because the Vega 64 right now, if you power limit it down to 24 power limit, negative 24 power limit, bring the GPU clock from 1643 down to 1000, and then you take the MIM clock up from 1000 up to 1100, you can get a sustained 43 mega hash out of it at about 140, 150 watts of power. More like 160, but I think some people are just starting it, and then before the fan spins up to cool card, they take a snapshot of it. But you know us, we'll do it transparent in front of you when we go to do it, and then you guys will get to see it running during that video. So I want to give it enough time so you guys can see that video and see the card actually running for more than like a screenshot. So no hit to anybody, WinTech and all those guys that have taken, done blogs and stuff. Part of the unfortunate thing about doing blogs is you kind of take a snapshot of a particular event in time and then you can talk about it. I like to see it running and stable for an extended period of time because that's really what matters in this world for mining. But if you guys got any other questions, we'll get those answered. Otherwise, we'll wrap this video up. And
We're kind of answering each other's questions. We're pretty good about that.
Pretty good about answering each other's questions. Hey, it's a great community. I love the folks that come into the channel and help out each other. We got some fixing on the stream to do, and then we'll get that stream posted for tomorrow. I'm going to try to do it earlier so folks can try to get to it earlier, but I'm also conscious that some people are obviously going to be working during the day, so we can't do it during the day. I'll be working during the day too myself, so we'll try to do it a little earlier in the day, and then on Saturdays we'll try to do it kind of a midday Saturday live stream. That way folks can catch it over the weekend in the middle of the day. So did we just get a super chat? I'm going to check.
I just got a super chat.
I hear ya. Reggie James. Now, hey, I did get some questions from people. Reggie, I think you were one of them that sent me a question. I will get to it. I've had a ton of emails recently as the prices came up. It seems like the questions and everything else come back. I am trying to get through those. Reggie, I did see you did ask me a question. I will get to it. I did see, looks like Senseless Scott. Did we answer his?
Yeah, he just had a statement, did he?
Thank you for the videos. I built 5 1060s methodology. Okay, yeah, great. And Robert Orth, instead of spending 12K on a GPU mining 3, would a person be better off spending 12K on Antminer S9s? We're super partial to GPU rigs. You're talking about, so I've had no problem with people that buy specific hardware to do mining. The problem, so here's the problem statement with it. One, the way Litecoin and everything's growing, as long as you can get the Antminer in time and you can plug it in, you'll probably have a pretty good run, 6 to 8 months, where it'll be profitable with the power that you're going to use for them. But like all things, and I'll tell you what, I'll just pull one thing out here. I have several of these And these and a couple other server size versions of this. This is a rock miner, Bitcoin miner. This is 50 gigahash. This lasted for about 3 months before it was completely useless to sit there and power it. And mind you, this uses about 15 watts of power. So there was a chance for a small period of time to put this on Bitcoin Cash and just repoint it. You know, plug it in, it plugs into a USB, you plug that into a PC, and then you can use a piece of software to point it to a pool, and this actually will mine Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, or any of the other two SHA-256 coins if you point it to it, and run. The problem with this stuff is like I think when we got this was maybe $100, $150 or something like that. But it's like a, you know, I could keep papers under it. I mean, like there's no other real. It's 50 gigahash. It's not that much in that realm anymore. The same thing with the Sponduli Tech 2 terahash full server miner that we had. That thing was a $5,000 piece of equipment. It lasted about 6 months before it was not worth turning it on because now you had 12 and 15 megahash or terahash units. If I grabbed a rig, let's go back in time. Let's go back into the first mining cards that we used were ATI 5870s. Now those are like 1 gig cards, I believe, 2 gig cards. We were using script minings on those. Those cards mined for at least 2.5, 3 years, and I turned around and we sold those to actually gamers for like $110, $120. Those cards originally cost me $220. I still got $100 for it, and it wasn't screwing somebody over. It was literally like a gamer that was super happy that they got it for like $100, right? So that's always been the hedge on GPU mining, is that people that had R9 290s had R9 280s from 3 years ago when the craze came back. Those people were able to sell those cards to people that had better deals in power. So you have people from like Venezuela and other countries that have much better power situations that are looking to buy up those R9s and 290s and all that kind of stuff. They are able to get almost all of their money back out of it. So from an asset class that can generate you revenue, that is why people go with GPUs. The people that figure it out and go, you know what? It's a hedge. I can go and spend $3,000 and buy a piece of equipment that potentially can turn into this, or it just sits there because it's not worth it anymore because the other technology, and you can't. I mean, I could probably sell this for vintage purposes. Like I'd be more happy to probably give this away to a viewer if they just wanted it for just to say they own a Bitcoin miner.
It's a relic.
But it's a relic. It's a relic of an old time. It's like, and this is kind of funny. I posted a picture on our Twitter page of some images that I found from 2012 when we mined back in 2012 and 2011, which were like old school images. Like I have a video that you guys will just laugh your butts off on. It was late 2010. I should totally post it on our YouTube page. It's from 2010 on our very first attempt at trying to show people how to mine. And it was with like the CPU Bitcoin miners, which was actually, I tell you what, let's do a real quick poll.
No.
I can bring up the actual miner.
Is that the one when it's snowing?
And it's snowing.
And you put the rig outside and it was snowing?
No. That was the very beginning of this series. That was in 2013. So if you guys want to see it real quick, I will bring up the actual Bitcoin mining software that like this kind of stuff plugs into. Mind you, this stuff's like 2011, 2012 maybe. I can actually bring it up on the screen, and it's actually pretty funny if they want to see it. And then we'll close out this episode. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff. So it is a long way to answer your question about using this kind of hardware or buying this kind of hardware. You will make, there's a good high chance right now with the way everything is, if you can get your hands on it and you can mine with it, it'll last you probably 6, maybe 8 months. But the next phase of technology can completely just obliterate it. Like the people that own, just look back and look at the people that own S6s and S5s and Antminer S4s. Where are those at right now? They're probably in a closet. I doubt they're on unless there's somebody that scooped them up to put them on with zero power cost.
Yeah, they want to see
All right, we'll show that and then we'll wrap it up on the video. So let's see here. I should be able to bring this up, and then as this thing's looking.
So about 10 people rose their hand and said they would love to have that Bitcoin miner. Nope, it goes back. It's like an antique. You can't get rid of it.
Oh,
It's for nostalgia.
I have like 6 of them.
Oh my gosh, don't even say that.
I do. Let's see here. Okay.
Oh my gosh, can we turn on the air conditioner? Dying.
Yes. You can. I am pulling up. Here we go. So I should be able to bring up this bring into focus, add.
We'll blow up the screen. Somebody asked if the threats from North Korea, would that ever affect crypto in any way?
Oh, you're getting to see some of that, so we'll see here. I don't know if I can. Let's do this.
Oh, I see it.
See this? Like streaming within streaming within streaming.
Well, yeah, it's like a mirror. When you put two of them next to each other, it goes on forever.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, it probably went back. So this is essentially, look at the date on this miner. 2012, 2030. I should upload this just for a joke, because I don't even know if you can get this thing anymore. But these essentially are all the different pools. We go to Slush's pool, we can leave this. And then this particular rig, Esmire. This is if we're using CP cores. I don't know if this will kill my, this will probably kill it, but let's try to start mining. Let's see if it starts dropping frame. I'm actually mining on the GPU. So we're mining Bitcoin right now to Slush's pool. And since I didn't define where, it's just doing a solo mine. Oh, I'm accepting shares. And it's getting 658 mega hash on the 590 that I, or the RX
Can you make that full screen?
580. This. Let me see
You're
it.
still in the corner.
Oh, is it not? I don't know if it's. Oh, I see. I have to do this. And I can do this. And I can do this maybe. I don't know. I did not plan this very well. I'm actually just impressed that it's actually still rendering, even though I'm doing 640 mega hash right now to Bitcoin, and I'm actually impressed that this software is actually still working. Show summary. We had 11 accepted shares.
Probability of you finding a block solo mining on that right now.
Highly, 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 highly. Getting struck by lightning 40 times in the head at the same time, maybe. All right, that was just the mining software. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, we can. I have like a whole bunch of videos, and maybe we'll make a montage of a lot of those older videos from 2010, 2011 when we first started trying to do GPU mining. I have a lot of those kind of old videos. I did post out there on our Twitter page though, just a screenshot of what the jalapeno, which is like this rock miner. It's a smaller one in a little box. It was from Butterfly Labs. They went under. It was a disaster. They had a little miner like this, and I think it was like 8.8 gigahash at the time. So mind you, that RX580 was doing 600 mega hash, just one of them. So the 30 watt jalapeno, so a customized ASIC, that shows you the differences. That thing in 2013, 2012, I think I got that in 2012, would do 8.8 gigahash. This does, by the way, 55 to 60 gigahash. But I posted up our wallet entries from 2013. That was 2013, November 2013, actually, of what we earned, and it was roughly about, I think, $40 to $50 in today's amount of Bitcoin. That one miner. So I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, that miner was like $300 to buy back then, and it was earning, you know, it took 4 months to earn $300 at that time. But that $300 of Bitcoin was essentially like 1.1 Bitcoin. So that one miner over a long period of time, that's that whole thing about a long period of time of holding your coin. So, you know, it paid off. I mean, obviously, I mean, a $300 piece of equipment that ended up, if you hold the coin, would have turned into $4,300 plus. So that's just kind of food for thought for folks selling their coins all the time. All right, guys, I think we're at an hour and 45 minutes. We're going to wrap it up. Hopefully that was interesting and entertaining. This thing's still rolling. I took the focus off there, but we're still sitting there at 206 mega hash on, or 206 mega hash on the on this rig, and the power supply isn't melting. So we'll wrap this one up. I'll send out the notice later on tomorrow on the live stream time, and you'll check with us on Twitter, and we'll catch you guys later.